So that was a great home run that you just watched by the Chicago Cubs. And when we're studying impulse and momentum, and you look at something like that, I want you to think about, what changes the velocity of the ball. The ball was flying in toward the bat. It hit the bat. The bat actually compresses the ball momentarily, which you're going to see, and then the ball goes the other way. So what caused a change in the velocity of the ball? Hopefully you said the word force, that the batter had to apply a force to the ball using the bat. And when the batter does that and the ball compresses onto the bat and then flies away, it creates what we call an impulse. And an impulse is a force that's applied over a time period. So to actually calculate impulse, you would take the force that is applied to any object, and you would have to know the amount of time that that force was applied. That will tell you how much impulse was applied at that.
At 10,000 frames per second, we can see the regulation hardballs turn into squash balls.
At that time. So I originally asked, how the velocity changes, but how does the velocity change due to that applied force? What happens? It is definitely going to change due to the force that's applied. But let's look at where that comes from. So remember back to Newton's second law, force is mass times acceleration. We can do some substitutions here. I'm going to show you where we get the impulse-momentum relationship. So I'm going to derive that equation. If we go ahead and replace acceleration with the definition of acceleration, which is a change in velocity over a change in time, we get an equation that looks like this. And since we were just talking about applying forces over a time period, we're going to go ahead and put force and time on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to say force times a change in time is equal to mass times a change in velocity. This side over here is your impulse that you applied. If we're talking about a home run hitter in baseball, they apply a force over a given amount of time, and then something happens. You get a change in velocity. So how velocity changes due to the force applied is what we call momentum. And momentum is mass times a change in velocity. We note it with a P because we have run out of letters. We use M for so many other things that momentum we label with a lowercase p. So that is your equation for momentum. P is equal to M times V. Let's say we're talking about an object like hitting a baseball with a baseball bat. What if you were to increase the force? Then blank happens to the change in velocity. What happens if you increase the force to the velocity?